Welcome. I'm Julio Malara, CEO and producer of the 21st Century Business Forum. Clay has a great interview today and a first from the streets of New York City with all the sounds of Manhattan. You know we like to keep it real and authentic here at the Business Forum. We've even dropped in a few subtitles to make sure you didn't miss a word from our special guests. So let's get started. Here's Clay Young.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 21st Century Business Forum. I'm your host, Clay Young. This morning, we are excited to have with us one of America's most intriguing entrepreneurs, Dollar Shave Club founder Michael Dubin. A decade after launching the direct-to-consumer business as a no-frills, amazing $1-a-month razor startup that disrupted the shaving industry, he sold the company for $1 billion to products giant Unilever. In January, he stepped down as CEO. We're here to learn from the man who is considered one of the most innovative marketers in direct-to-consumer sector, now on a mission to find something else to disrupt. Michael, how are you?
Good. I don't know that I'm one of America's more intriguing stories, but I appreciate the introduction.
I think so, man. When you think about the way you started the company, and I'm excited to talk with you about your mindset as a CEO and what you built over that time. But it all started with that video that I was able to refresh on again today. I watched it a few times. I showed it to members of my team, and we laughed every time. But for those who did not see it, here's the video.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door. Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis. And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, pop-up! Stop paying for shave tech you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandro and I are gonna ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors, we're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're gonna stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on.
I know karate, I know jiu-jitsu, I drive like a gangster when I'm coming to see you,
Let's talk about that. You grabbed everyone's attention with that video. What were your intentions with it? What went into it? Thought processes, all of that.
Well, when I launched the company, I wanted to tell the story with humor because I think that telling stories with humor is one way to resonate and stay in somebody's mind over a long period. And, I knew that I was the best person to tell that story. In other words, I could have outsourced it to somebody else, but I decided ultimately that I was going to be the best one. I didn't know that it would go viral. That was not part of the intention. I actually thought the opposite. I didn't really want the video to be too prominent because I didn't want people to have an adverse reaction to the business idea, an adverse reaction to the founder or the spokesman in case they didn't like me or they didn't like the video. I wanted the business to kind of stand on its own. And so ultimately that became, it really put us on the map. And so I'm glad that we chose to do it the way we chose to do it.
Well, I love it. Where's Alejandra? Is she still around?
All right, I'm just switching positions.
No,
here, so
no
I'm
worries.
Directly into this.
There you go.
Alejandra worked in our first fulfillment center, which was not owned by us.
Okay.
But yes, she's still around. We're still Facebook friends, and she's doing very well.
How did you go about identifying the products that you wanted to offer?
You mean razors themselves?
Yeah. Well, and just in the way you went about doing it, because the impetus behind this is really something, as a guy with a beard, that guys do talk about: the cost of buying razors and the product and everything you have, especially if you have to be in a suit, as most people, are. You want to look the part. So you had that niche market. Tell me about that targeting and what went behind the product you chose.
Well, well, I guess the first thing is you've observed the problem in the industry. The problem is that razors are overpriced and that they're always locked behind the case. And at the time of Dollar Shave Club's founding, there weren't a lot of people. I mean, you could buy razors online. We weren't the first people to sell razors online, but we were the first to kind of point out sort of the obvious problem and what was broken. Which I think any business that when you begin, you have to kind of ask yourself honestly: are you solving a big problem? And if so, what is that problem? Now, sometimes that's a problem that you could observe yourself, as I did. Sometimes it's a problem that you can read about. Maybe somebody else has observed it, and you have a unique way of approaching solving that problem. For us, solving that problem was getting really affordable, great razors and making them really easy to buy. And so we went on a search for the best razors. Ultimately, the first razors that we sold were from a manufacturer out of South Korea. We tried those razors. We tried razors from India, from China, a lot of different places, from the United States too. Settled on the ones from Korea. Over time, what we did is we ended up building out our own supply chain in our factory in the state of Israel. And so now we sell razors both from South Korea and from Israel, even though the company's headquartered in the United States. It's owned by Unilever. So ultimately, how we decided on the products was trial and error and testing, and making sure that they did what we hoped they would do, which is a great shave at an affordable price.
It's interesting in business. I had mentors who would tell me and you've heard this before, you need to be a meaningful, specific, and not a wandering generality. And obviously you were very specific to what your company offered your client base. If you would, talk with me about the value of remembering who you are and staying the course.
When you say remembering who you are, do you mean?
Well, I mean, what your company is focused on, who your audience is, how to engage them and stay with that.
Yeah, sorry, now my computer's overheating here in the sunshine, so let me just back this up like that. Yeah, so when you start a brand, you want to make sure that you are staying true to your brand, and that means not only searching your soul when you develop a new piece of creative, but also asking for other people to be sort of watchers on the wall of your brand, as it were, to use a Game of Thrones reference. You have to. Sometimes your own judgment can get cloudy when you build out a brand yourself. You think it's one thing, but actually it ends up being quite another. And so throughout the journey, we had many people that were watchers on the wall for us at the brand. And when we wanted to launch something new, we would go to them and say, "Hey, does this feel like us? Or are we starting to, as sometimes happens, starting to sound like some of the other brands?" Because that can kind of creep into your psyche subconsciously. So that's something that as a brand, no matter how big or small, you kind of have to watch out for. You see other people doing really interesting things, and you want to borrow from that. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting discipline because sometimes things just kind of seep into your brain automatically. Music is a lot like that. Yeah. Whereas music, there's a lot of originality out there, but there's also a lot that is borrowed from generations prior or other artists.
If someone were to ask you, what is the Michael Dubin leadership style, what would you say? What is it?
I would say, first and foremost, it's to be human. It's important to relate to the folks you work with on a human level. They can't always see you as the boss or the leader. They have to see you as a human just like them. So that's compassion, that's empathy. The other thing is, most of the time folks have come to work for you because they believe in your mission, they believe in what you're trying to do, and whether it's a small business or a big business. And that means continually reminding folks why you're on the mission that you're on, why they've chosen to work with you on this mission, to take this journey with you. And I guess the other piece is to make sure that it's a mutually beneficial relationship. Most folks don't want to come to work for you because they'll get a paycheck. They come to work for you because they're going to feel like what they're doing is worthwhile, that they're challenged intellectually, and ultimately that they can grow as people and as professionals. And so you have to make sure that that's a rewarding experience for them, professionally and personally. And so that goes into how you design their role and your relationship with them. You want to make sure that, because that relationship won't last forever. So you want to make sure that you're able to give them an experience that when they leave, they can reflect back positively on. Developmentally, emotionally. I have a lot of people that used to work at Dollar Shave Club that reached out to me and say, hey, that was such a formative and even transformative experience for me professionally. And I just, was able to become the best version of myself because I worked at Dollar Shave Club. So thanks for that opportunity. So that's kind of, that's what that is. That's my leadership philosophy is drive all of those things.
I love that. And our audience is obviously made up of business people, small businesses, business owners, people who are trying to get into the space of business. As I listen to you give that answer, I hear team. I haven't heard you say a lot of me's and I's. And I mean, that's important when you're leading a company, is the leader is only as good as his or her team, right?
That's right. Whatever you as a business person, small or large business, if you are the CEO or the founder or even a senior executive, there's going to be things that there's things that you don't know, experiences you have, but most experiences you don't have, especially if you're a younger founder like I was. I started Dollar Shave Club when I was 32. And so ultimately, you have to make sure you surround yourself with people that are more experienced. They've seen a few seasons in business, and they have experience where you don't. Otherwise, you're just going to be guessing. And if you're in a very competitive industry like Dollar Shave Club is, the business can't afford to learn at your pace.
Right.
Because you'll just miss too many opportunities, and you'll succumb to too many risks. So you do have to really rely on your team. It is a team sport. This isn't golf or tennis. This is baseball, basketball, football, whatever. You're not a solo artist. You're playing in a band.
You once told a reporter you've got to stick your neck out and collide with life because it'll change you. What does that mean?
It means that nothing happens in your head, say it differently. You're not going to figure your life out. You're not going to figure your business out. You're not going to grow just by sitting in a room by yourself thinking the big thoughts. You got to get out there and just go collide with life. So whatever that just means, get out there, meet people, go to conferences, travel the world, travel the country, expose yourselves to people outside your bubble, and let that change you. Because it will, and you'll come away with new perspectives, new ways of thinking. I myself am the most inspired when I'm on the road. I love being home. I love the comforts of home. I can certainly find comfort in routine, but it's when I'm out there, colliding with life, trying new foods, new restaurants, meeting new people, that I'm really kind of inspired the most. And so I kind of, it's something that I say a lot is you just got to get out there and go collide with life a little bit, try things you never would try before, see how that makes you feel. Otherwise, what's the point?
Well, I said in the open, I called you an intriguing businessman. It's because at the time you started Dollar Shave, the direct-to-consumer market was so much more different than it is right now. And there's some trailblazing in a way that goes with being at the first part of something. If you fast forward to now, I've seen some comments you've made about direct to consumer now. Talk me through the way you see that landscape now if someone is wanting to get into it.
The direct to consumer space or the
Yes.
razor and shave?
Direct to consumer.
Yeah. Direct to, when I started Dollar Shave Club in 2011, there were plenty of e-commerce companies that had come before us. But it was a little bit of a heavier lift to get the business going, to get the website built, to get the infrastructure for shipping and fulfillment, to tighten your supply chain. On the strictly talking about the digital store, the e-commerce store, your ability right now to start a direct-to-consumer channel, an e-commerce channel, takes you a fraction of the time. Between Shopify and Wix and a lot of these other places, there are so many places that you can go and have your website and e-commerce store running in less than an hour, in some cases, versus like the weeks it would have taken back in 2011 when Dollar Shave Club launched. And so, it's gotten easier to launch a direct-to-consumer channel. And so, in some ways, it's become harder to differentiate just on what shows up electronically on the page, on the site, all in. So you have to think a little bit harder about how your experience is going to differentiate. And the best way to differentiate truly is, the product itself or the service itself, because the e-commerce has become somewhat commoditized. It's table stakes. You just have to have that channel. I think what's really changed is that there's been a reverse. Not a reverse. The pendulum has swung a little bit back more towards retail, not all the way. But I like to think of things as being truly omnichannel now. You have to think about what is your omnichannel experience like. And by omnichannel, I mean, what's your physical, real-world presence? What's your digital presence? And how do those work together to provide the online shopper what they want and the retail shopper what they want? But if they want to cross over, how do you make that feel special and unique? That anybody that's had a great idea for a product or a service, I think you have to think about being on the channel from day one. I don't think that there, and it's not to say that there aren't great direct-to-consumer businesses that are launching now, because there are. But ultimately, the ones that are going to really scale the heights are going to be the ones that kind of figure out the on-the-channel thing quickly.
Okay. Allow me to cast you in the role of professor. You're conducting a class right now, and your student population it includes people who are getting into the space of business ownership and people who are there. And Dr. Dubin is getting ready to now tell me these are the essentials you need in starting your business. You talked about team, but go deeper for me. Here are the things that you would advise your class to have if they want to be successful in business.
Good question. The first thing that you have to have is a relentless curiosity. You also need to have an indefatigable appetite for problem solving. Or I shouldn't say appetite, energy for problem solving. You just always have to believe that there's a way to figure it out when you encounter an obstacle. You will encounter obstacles of all kinds, other people, ways of thinking, existing methods. You just have to say to yourself, I'll figure it out. I will figure it out. There is a way to figure this out. Some problems will be harder than others to solve, but they're all solvable, and the vast majority are solvable. But ultimately, you just have to believe that you're going to figure it out, and you will. And then curiosity, you just have to keep learning. You have to keep opening yourself up to new people, new ways of thinking, to make sure that you're not missing something, because we all have blind spots. So those are kind of the first two things. And some of those things you can teach, some of those things just kind of come naturally. I think, you have to be a little bit stubborn, because a lot of people are going to tell you that your business will never work, especially if it's a new idea, right? If you say, I'm going to open a dry cleaner, that can work probably, because that's a concept people know. But if you say, I'm going to start a business that nobody's ever heard of before, people aren't sure if that's going to work or not. But you have to be really stubborn. Because that will help you persevere through the naysayers, which you will encounter many of those. So those are some of the more of the human qualities that you need to have, to start a business. I think then, the next thing you have to have is kind of got to surround yourself with other successful people. Now, that doesn't mean you have to talk to somebody every day or every week, but some, a board, so to speak, a board of advisors or a board of directors, or even just friends or contacts that you can call and say, hey, I have this question. I'm stumbling on this. How do I get from here to there? I think that's a really important thing, is to go out and find those people that have been successful. So, hopefully you have people in your neighborhood, or people that maybe you went to high school or college with. Other folks, sometimes a cold call can break through if you inspire somebody on the other end and they're not too busy. Those are great ways to get a leg up, is to just learn from other people. And then, of course, we talked about this earlier, building out a great team. So become a really good interviewer. Become a really good interviewer of talent.
With your company, and one of the big things businesses can often run into is maintaining their capacity to serve their audience. And as you said earlier, sometimes you can get an influx of people that's so large, it's larger than your capacity to serve. So how did you ride that lightning bolt by never getting overwhelmed by the number of people coming at you to join Dollar Shave?
You mean from a technical perspective, like a business?
Being able to serve the audience that wants your product.
How were we able to
maintain? Yes.
I mean, that's just good. That's just good business planning. That's making forecasts, and in the early days, kind of being conservative and making sure that you're not if your business is on a rocket ship like we were, it's being a little bit more. Well, not conservative in that case. I guess that's being more optimistic, but making sure that you have ultimately enough inventory and enough bandwidth to service the business. So that's really just kind of good business planning. That comes down to great talent, people that know how to do that.
In the 10 years that you were chief executive officer at Dollar Shave, I'm sure there were lots of lessons you learned that you keep with you to this day. Could you share some of those with us?
Sure. I'll sort of I'll just kind of run through a few of them. So one of them is, as a leader, hire people that are so talented and capable that they make you wonder if your boss or your board of directors won't need you anymore. The best thing a leader can do is hire people that are more experienced and competent than themselves in a given area. At some point, your boss, in front of your boss or your board, they'll say something really smart and heads will turn. And you might feel a twinge of concern for your own self-preservation. But you have to recognize that as a winning moment where you've done your job, where your sort of team outshines you. Another one is focus on the most important thing. Don't be distracted by other people's most important thing or by what other people think your most important thing should be. You only have so much time and energy in the day, and you have to be frugal with your energy. Spending it wisely will mean the difference between success and failure. So, you have to listen to people, you have to listen to your team, but your business will rise and fall on whether or not you are able to accurately ascertain what is the most important thing, and focusing on that. Another one is, I think you have to kind of, in a weird way, be grateful for your competitors. If you've got the right mindset, they will bring out your best. And you can't, but don't get overly obsessed with them. You don't want to start following their playbook. That can really lead you astray. Another thing is, if your company is bigger, remember that if the system is working, you won't be involved in most everyday decisions. And that one takes a little bit of getting used to, but you got to get comfortable with the idea that sometimes people will think you have, they won't be coming to you for every decision. And that's, I think that's really important, because that means you've really sort of done your job. I think you also have to get comfortable with the idea that you don't know the answer to the questions that people ask you. And that's also another thing about being human. It's just, saying, I don't know. Somebody asks you a question, just say, I don't know. That makes people more comfortable with saying, I don't know, versus giving you kind of the wrong answer. I think kind of one of the last things is, success can cloud your judgment, and fear can cloud your judgment. So go out there and seek objective advice. Those are important. And then maybe another one is, don't underestimate the underdog mentality. If you're great enough and lucky enough to become number one, keep thinking like you're number two. That one's a big one for me.
Man, you that was so perfect. You led me to where I was going next, and that is the insatiable appetite to keep going and not getting drunk on any one win, but staying consistent. And I was going to ask you about that, but since you said that, I'll lead you to it anyway. How did you stay hungry? How do you motivate others to stay hungry?
You just have to realize that, everything is always up in the air. One day you're the best in the game, the next day you're not. You just have to remember that being number one means a lot of people are gunning for you. And if you keep an underdog mentality like you're number two, then you're gonna be just fine. So I wouldn't really, I think you just have to tell yourself, like, there's always something, there's always a blind spot, there's always an opportunity around the corner that you should be targeting, there's always a risk out there that you should be mindful of, and you just kind of, you got to pat yourself on the back and celebrate, but you also have to, just remember that success is fleeting. Look at all these, look at champions in any sport. They are the champs for a blink, and then a new season starts, and more times than not there's a new champ. So you have to just kind of be mindful.
I had a conversation, Michael, once with a lady about early morning workouts. And she asked, how do you, I just can't get up that early in the morning. How do you do it? And I told her my routine is I put my feet on the floor, because once my feet touch the floor, now I have to make a choice as to whether I'm going to stand up or get back under the covers. And I said that to say the importance of making choices, because sometimes life throws things at you and you really don't have a choice. But then there are those other things where you choose success or not. Talk about making choices, positive, smart choices.
Well, that's I really like that, putting the feet on the floor. I'm gonna take that with me on my journey. So thanks for that. It's a good one. Make the choice: get up or get back under the covers. I like that.
Just remember to quote me a few times when you share it. At least about 5 times.
I always attribute appropriately. Nothing's original in this world.
No.
So ultimately, I think. I read a quote recently. I actually can't remember who said it, but it wasn't me. But it's, you don't decide. Actually, let me. I have it written down here, so let me go to it. You don't decide your future. You decide how you show up every day, and your future is built on that. Which is sort of when you connect that with another thought, which is some things done daily are better than one big thing done once in a while. You start to recognize the power of habit and the power of positive thinking and the power of just kind of getting up and getting into the rhythm of doing a thing in a certain way. That will really key you in on, if you make those little choices every day, right? Like to get up when you put your feet on the floor or get back under the covers, you put your feet on the floor and then go do a workout. If you do that 6 out of 7 days or 4 out of 7 days, over time, that's going to add up. You're going to burn more calories. You're going to get the serotonin going earlier, which means you're going to have more positive days than negative days. So all of that stuff is really important. But I think when we think about making choices, it's kind of, make the choice, make the choice, I think, every day to do good things for yourself and for people around you is a simple one.
You know, there is a theme of positive energy and focus, and it runs through almost every answer that you have given. So clearly that is a part of your makeup. Where did it come from?
Probably, a little bit from my coaches in school growing up. And then also, from my parents who are motivated people. So, it starts at home and at school.
It's interesting. Only a couple more questions for you. And with business leaders who are watching this, there's always something that you have found on the journey because you've achieved success after 10 years with Dollar Shave that others haven't seen yet because they haven't gotten to that level yet. Let them in on it. What are some of the things that you've seen that they probably should know that's out ahead of them?
In terms of what?
In terms of experiences, things they should know about, things they should take very seriously, don't take for granted these particular things, whatever those insights are.
I'm not totally sure I understand the question. You mean in the course of business or just in everyday life or?
No, in the course of business. And let me come at it from this direction. Obviously, having started a company and now having sold it for a large amount of money, it hasn't changed who you are. I can hear the humility in you, but there must have been things along the way that you learned in that journey that you could share with people who have not yet achieved that level of success yet.
Oh, sure. Well, I think the most important thing is enjoy the journey because, when you are a first-time entrepreneur like I was, you're kind of hyper-focused on making sure everything goes right. And, I was on high alert for 10 years while I was building the company and running it. And that is not sustainable. It also, if you're on high alert for what can go wrong and what should go right, you might miss out on some of the more fun, pleasant moments with people who because you don't get to go back on the journey again. I think that's sort of a general life lesson that I think it's tough for a lot of people to grasp, myself included, is that you don't get to go back and relive it. You're living it right now, and try to live it right now. The good, the bad, the pain, the pleasure, all of it, because it's you're not going to get to go back and do it again. You think that there's this future state where everything's perfect and calm, and then you'll be able to really enjoy the thing or whatever it is. But that's BS. You have to try to find a way to enjoy it, even though sometimes you're playing through pain or whatever that means to you. So it's sort of a tough lesson to learn unless you've been through it. But I do wish that I'd been a little bit more present in some of the earlier days. But it was hard because I was freaking out all the time. So, I think that's something that I'd like to, I hope that folks that are starting businesses can take with them, right? It's a journey, and it's going to be hard and amazing and beautiful and tragic and everything in between all at once. So, try to find the muscle that allows you to deal with it. And working out early in the morning is a good way to kind of, steel yourself for the day.
Well, listen, we appreciate the time and the insights and all the shifting around you're doing to accommodate and make this work, man. A lot of great information from you. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I wish you luck in the show, and I hope that you guys hit the prime time.
And I'd like to thank all of you, the viewers, for joining me this morning, and thank our sponsors for making this episode possible. Join us next month on November 10th for our second to last episode of the season. You don't want to miss it. See you then.